Hello, everyone, and you're welcome to this session. I hope you've had a great day so far at the Grad Ireland Fair, and it's an absolute pleasure for me to speak to you. My name is John Slattery. Very briefly, my business is Inspo. It's about inspiring people to make good life and career choices. I was formerly an auditor in an accountancy firm, and I've graduated to being in this place where I can say it's the closest I've been to loving what I do. Today, we're going to talk, a little bit about facing personal setbacks and building resilience. And really, there's three messages that I'd love to share with you in the time that we have. I'd also love for you to share any questions or any thoughts that you'd have, and I can address them as we go on. But in essence, the three messages that I'd love to share with you around being able to face personal setbacks and also to build resilience are: one, pick the right lane, which I'll explain in a moment. Um, Secondly, embrace the growth mindset. And thirdly, embrace the three pillars of your resilience. So, first and foremost, pick the right lane. What do I mean by that? Well, ultimately, in our careers, and this is obviously, we're here with Grad Ireland. So careers is front and center to, I guess, the theme of where we are here today. Our career bar sleep is the thing that we'll spend more time as an adult than anything else. So for me, it's so important that we pick the right lane in our career. And what do I mean by that? That we pick a lane in a career that we really enjoy. Because what I've come to learn as an auditor and now as someone who runs his own business, there is setbacks no matter what. So no matter what lane you choose, there's setbacks. But what I have found is when I face setbacks now, today in my business, yes, they're unpleasant. Yes, I'd rather they didn't happen. However, they're against the context of me absolutely loving what I do, against the context of me being absolutely passionate and believing in what I'm trying to achieve through work. So that helps a huge amount to pick myself back up from the setback. Whereas when I started out my career as an auditor, and to be very frank, I neither really enjoyed the work or was particularly good at it. So when I faced a setback with that context, the setback was a lot harder to deal with because one, I had to deal with the disappointment and the negativity of the setback. I also then had that subconscious, which is, well, I also don't really like what I'm doing here. So it's like a double whammy in that regard because I just didn't have the foundation of loving what I do as a kind of as an offset to the setback. So, you know, my biggest piece of advice and the first piece of advice is to you is, and obviously here being here with Grad Ireland, it's particularly relevant, is to choose a career, to pick a lane that you enjoy, that will inspire you, because ultimately it will make it so much easier a base to deal with the difficulty of setbacks. So I would say that's the first piece of advice. Pick the right lane. It's not easy to understand what the right lane is, and we could do another session on that. Um, However, that's the first piece of advice. So the second piece of advice is about embracing the growth mindset. So in life, we can adopt two broad mindsets. We can adopt a fixed mindset on life and a growth mindset on life. A fixed mindset on life is one that kind of says is that you and I, we have set levels of ability and nothing really can change that. And so if we succeed, it's because we succeeded because it was within our level of ability. But if we fail, we kind of take a view as, look, we're just not good. We can't get to that level. It's just beyond our capability. And that's a fixed mindset. A growth mindset believes that we have the ability to achieve whatever we want as long as we apply ourselves and take good instruction. So there's a lady called Carol Dweck out at the University of Stanford, and she has done endless amounts of research in this area. And she started first and foremost in schools with kids. And her research has proven that those who take a growth mindset outperform those kids that have a fixed mindset when it comes to school exams. And that's playing through in adults as well. So why am I mentioning the growth mindset in terms of facing personal setbacks, because Carol Dweck says that there's two key things that makes up a growth mindset. Firstly, she says it's called what we call praising the process. So what praising the process means, it's about when we succeed. Let's just say we do a really good project in work. It's not that we praise the outcome, as in the end, the project being completed. We actually look to praise the effort, the work, the discipline, the components around our approach to the project that made it successful. And that's what she means by praising the process. So we praise the elements that contribute to the outcome, and the outcome is kind of almost a secondary success. Now, that's one element. In relation to our session today, it's the second element that I want to draw attention to in relation to embracing the growth mindset. And that is that we have to, as part of a growth mindset, embrace what Carol Dweck calls the power of yet. Now, in simplicity, what does Carol Dweck mean by embracing the power of yet? What she's saying there is that setbacks, failures, disappointment, in her research and with all the work she's done, are a key part of developing, are a key part of achieving our goals, in that it's next to near impossible to get to a goal without a setback, without failure, without something not going right. So we actually have to really, in that instance, not just, I guess, deal with setbacks, but we actually have to embrace them. We actually must embrace them. And it's not easy, because as human beings, we'll feel them in emotion. We'll feel them as disappointment, as anger. If we can just sit and park and just sit with that and then take time to reflect, you find that there's great learning in the setback. And through learning from that setback, you can tweak your approach. You can decide to do something differently. And in doing so, you can then perform better the next time. So the second piece of advice that I wanted to offer you today is, in relation to personal setbacks, is to embrace the growth mindset, and in particular, this power of yet. That in setbacks, there's learning, and in learning, there's development, and in learning, there's growth, and in learning, it allows us to be better. The challenge is dealing with the emotion. If we can just manage that, then the setback is actually valuable. So that's the second piece of advice that I wanted to offer. So pick the right lane, embracing the growth mindset, and in particular, this concept of the power of yet. The third concept that I wanted to talk about, we're going to now move into resilience for a sec. So the easiest, sometimes we hear that, and resilience is a word throughout the pandemic that I'm sure you've heard loads of, and people stressing and emphasizing the importance of it. And yet for me personally, I sometimes find that it's quite a poorly defined word. So the easiest way for us to kind of talk about it for a few minutes is to have a common understanding of it. So I'm going to take you to an athletics track for a moment. And usually you've got the track on the outside, but I'm going to take you to the inside of an athletics track for a sec. Because you'll often find this event there, and it's the pole vault. So I want you just to imagine a pole vaulter who's starting in their attempt to jump over the bar. So they've got the pole vault in their hand. They start running down the track, gathering momentum, and just as they approach the bar, they plant their pole vault into the ground. And almost just, I'd like you to visualize what happens in that moment for the pole vaulter. Because what happens is the bar flexes, it bends, it changes shape. And in doing so, it propels the athlete up, and over the bar. The pole vault never breaks. It flexes, it adapts, it changes to allow the athlete to achieve the goal and to go over the bar. The pole vault is a brilliant metaphor for your resilience, because resilience, simply put, and I draw on a definition from a coach on resilience in the UK called Carol Pemberton, which broadly speaking says it's our ability to flex and adapt to meet extended periods of stress or pressure so that we can emerge stronger, wiser, and more able in dealing with that extended period of pressure. So it's our ability to flex and adapt during periods of extended stress or pressure to emerge stronger, wiser, or more able. So that's a definition. So now how can you build that resilience for yourself to manage those challenging times? So I'm going to give you 3 simple things, and there's no rocket science in this. However, sometimes I feel it's reassuring to know that these are all within you. And the 3 things are as follows. And what I'm going to do as well, I'm just going to put this into, I've got it on Word here, and I'm going to copy it into the chat in a few moments when I'm done, so that you have these 3 as a recap. So in terms of resilience and building your resilience, I see that there's 3 pillars that you can leverage to build your resilience. And the first is what I call yourself. So pillar 1 is yourself. And it's drawing on your innate or learned traits and being aware of them so that you can call on them in these extended periods of stress or pressure. So what do I mean? For example, I am someone who just naturally tends to find a glass half full when it comes to something. Always just see the positive. It's in me, it's part of who I am, and I'm very grateful for it. And so I can draw on that and be aware of it as part of one of my pillars of resilience. So the question that you might take away with you is, what's a trait that I have? Could have been born with it. I could have just developed it over time. Apologies, there might be some noise in the background there, but it could be something that's innate in you or developed over time. But the question is, for this first pillar yourself, what are traits that can be helpful for you in flexing and adapting? The second pillar that I would say is your activities. And it's knowing what are the activities that allow you to stay good and grounded. And everyone is unique. And so it's just about knowing the answer for yourself. Just to give you one example for me, you can give me the most challenging time. You can give me the most stressful scenario. Take me to the sea and allow me to swim for 5 to 10 minutes like I did yesterday. And I come out feeling reset, ready to go, and able to deal with whatever I have to go back to. So I would say that is the second thing. It's about understanding what is the activities that allow you to stay good and grounded. So I see a question coming in. Thank you for that. I'm going to have, there's just one more pillar, and then I'm going to come to that question and any other one as well. The last pillar, so we have of resilience, we've got yourself, your activities, and the next one is your network. So from the earliest ages, as a youngborn, you can see it in a baby, how they reach out for their mother or father and yearn for the support, the warmth they get when they feel the embrace of that person. And in us growing up to the adult life that we now exist in, it doesn't ever leave us. So there is huge support and huge strength in our network. So the question that I'd ask for you to think about, for example, for me, it's my dad, my father. I could be in an extended period of stress or pressure and struggling, as I was maybe a couple of hours ago when I had something that I needed to deal with. And I gave him a call and I just said, may I bounce something off you? And I can tell you within 10 minutes, I had a grounding and understanding of what I needed to do. So my question to you in this third and final pillar of resilience for you is thinking about the people, and ask, who do I love to ring to say, can I bounce something off you? Who do I love to ring to say, what do you think about this? Who do I love to ring to make me laugh? They are the people that we need to be aware of so that we can draw on them in those times of stress or pressure to give you that sense of warmth, strength, advice, fun, sort of alleviation. And that is the third and final piece of the pillars of resilience. So to sum up, in terms of the presentation formally, there's three things. I'd really hope that you in your career can pick a lane that you enjoy, that you believe in, that you really love in your career, given you spend more time there than any other activity bar sleep. I hope that you can embrace the growth mindset and particularly the power of yet, that look at setbacks as an opportunity to learn, to grow and develop and to achieve your ultimate goals. And thirdly, to build your resilience is to bring those pillars, yourself and your traits, your activities that help you stay good and grounded, and those people that can be a very powerful role for you when you're dealing with challenges. So they're the three things. It's short, it's very compact, I'm aware. And what I'll do now is I will put it into the chat, and I'm going to answer the questions that are there also. So question one, I hope, there we go. Question one, what learnings do you think have come through or will come through the time that we are currently in? It's a fantastic question. One, I think simplicity is the first learning that I would say. In just understanding what's important to us. We had such busy lives up until March, and in that busyness, we kind of lost sight of the simple question of what's important. So I think the biggest learning to come through, and just for brevity to keep this short, is I would ask people to think about what's important to me and use this period, because as challenging as it is, there will be a time when the pandemic ends and we'll go back to those busy lives. Some of you'll say, well, it's busy already. So ask and sit with the question, what's important to me? I think that there's wonderful learning there if we can use this time where we're less connected, or perhaps potentially less busy socially than we would be. That would be my feeling in relation to the first question. In relation to the second question, the employers ask in interviews, tell me about a time when you failed and how you overcame this. Can you use personal rather than professional examples in this? How would you best advise to speak about failure to show your positive attributes? I would say you can use both the personal or professional. The key in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, the key is how you relate it back to the role that you're applying for, how you relate it back to the organization that you're applying for that role for, and how you're relating it back to the industry that organization operates in. So for me, it's less about personal or professional. It's much more about relevance. In relation to how do you advise about speaking about failure or positive attributes, I personally feel honesty is the best policy. So be honest about the struggle, about the challenge, because setbacks there's no getting around that. And then just then be honest about how you learned and how you managed to overcome or how you managed to respond, and just set, what it is about you that allowed you to do that, because that's authentic. It's real, and authenticity and realness, that's not a correct word. However, if you get me, they're key things that I think employers are looking for. And then the last question that I see here, how would you advise dealing with setbacks when you apply for a role and hear nothing back? Oh gosh. Hear nothing back, I think, is one of the great ills in society. And I understand and can empathize how that's really frustrating as someone who owns a business and doesn't hear back from someone. I think a lot of it comes back to self-belief, and just believe that what you're doing is right. If you believe in something and believe in yourself and believe that you're going to make it happen, then things like not hearing back, you don't have to take personally. Yes, you're a human being, so you'll feel sadness, anger, frustration. If you've got a clear understanding of what you want to achieve, if it really excites you to pick the right lane, then I'd also think that it allows you to deal with this in a better way. Also, hearing nothing back doesn't mean that they're not coming back at all. Sometimes it can be that they're very busy. Remember that they're facing a pandemic just like you, and the challenges that they may be facing challenges as well. So it can be sometimes just trying to understand what's potentially going on for that other person. might soften the frustration. They're my two pieces of advice, I would say. That's the last question. It so happens that it's also the end of my time. To Grad Ireland, to Alison, to Katie and all the team, thank you so much for the opportunity to participate in this wonderful event, as always. To the people who attended here, although I can't see you, please take it from me, I'm very grateful for your time. And to the people in particular who submitted the questions, thank you very much. Have a lovely evening. You see my email address there if you have any questions, and hopefully I get to see you virtually or in person at some stage in the future. Thank you all, and safe home, and talk to you soon.